All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Sadie Fitzpatrick, columnist with the Ocala Gazette, and your moderator for tonight's forum. A quick disclaimer. The Ocala Gazette and Neighborhood Storage are hosting this candidate forum as a public service. The views expressed by the candidates are their own, and their appearance at this event does not imply an endorsement or recommendation by either the Ocala Gazette or Neighborhood Storage. I want to give a special thank you to Neighborhood Storage for serving as our sponsor for tonight's event, and to the Marion Theater for hosting us. Now, a few housekeeping items about how tonight's forum will be conducted. The questions asked tonight are a combination of questions developed by the Ocala Gazette editorial team and voter-submitted questions. They will touch on city policies, procedures, and the candidates' platforms. There will be no audience questions to the candidates. We ask that you please refrain from loud cheering, clapping, or any outbursts until the question period is over. Seating in question order has been randomly decided by me. I will introduce each candidate and ask them to explain their qualifications. They will have 1 minute to do so. There will be 2 individual questions per candidate for District 4. There will be 1 bonus question asked of all candidates if time permits. Each candidate has 1 minute to answer each question. For our mayoral candidates, there will be 3 questions per candidate. Each candidate has 1 minute to answer each question. The forum will not be a debate, and candidates should not interrupt each other or me. At the conclusion of the questioning, each candidate will be allowed 2 minutes to make a closing statement. Time limits for all comments will be strictly enforced. Let's get started. I'd like to welcome our District 4 candidates, Alex Everts, Kevin Lopez, Lori Martin Gregory, Curtis Jones, Christian Dreyer, and Barbara Feitos. If you guys want to come up to the stage. No order. You guys can sit wherever you'd like.
Sit by you with a mask.
Right. You can sit, you can stand, whatever way you're most comfortable. All right. We will start over here with Ms. Feitos. They'll give us a brief introduction about why they're choosing to run for city council. You'll hear from everyone. You have 1 minute, Ms. Feitos.
Thank you, and good evening. I'm Barbara Feitos, and I'm honored to be a candidate for Ocala City Council District 4. I have called Ocala home for the last 40-plus years, raising my son Joseph as a single parent, and have witnessed and helped shape the many successes in which we all take pride. Yet, ongoing challenges and divisions persist. I care deeply about Ocala and will use my extensive community experience, my education, and decades of experience in the private sector as an HR banking executive, the public sector as county commissioner, and in the nonprofit sector as the first executive director of our community foundation, coupled with my extensive civic engagement. I want to be that voice, that informed vote to move us, all of us, forward to realize Ocala's full potential. Thank you for this evening.
Thank you. All right. Kevin.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kevin Lopez. I'm running for District 4 City Council. I moved to Ocala in 2019, so I'm a newer resident here. I moved with my beautiful wife, who used to be a 4th grade math and science teacher, and our 2 amazing children. I've lived in Florida for over 25 years, so I can consider myself a Florida native. I graduated with a bachelor's in management information systems and a master's in health informatics from the University of South Florida. I work day to day as a software engineer for a large healthcare organization where I am entrusted to manage multi-year projects with multiple development teams ongoing with various competing priorities and business objectives. I have phenomenal leadership skills and management practice that I would like to bring to the City Council. On September 21st, I would encourage you to go out and vote, even if I'm not your candidate, but I hope that I am. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Gregory.
Thank you, Sadie, and thank you to the Ocala Gazette for having us, and to Neighborhood Storage for sponsoring, and thank you all for coming. It's a privilege to be here with you all. My name is Lori Martin Gregory. I was born in 1962 at Monroe Memorial Hospital to a family that had been in Ocala for several generations at that point. My dad was a very ambitious young sports editor. He was the sports editor of the Ocala Star-Banner when I was born and was finishing up his degree in journalism at the University of Florida. And for those of you familiar with newspapers, military folks move around a lot, and then newspaper people move around a lot. So we were the branch of the family that ended up moving and living in New York and Colorado. And when I graduated from college in Colorado with my with my bachelor's degree in journalism, following in the family footsteps, I had an opportunity to then move to Boston and get my master's degree in business. So my background is in media, business, journalism, and specifically started my career on Wall Street working for pharmaceutical and biotech companies, managing their communications. Well, today I actually have had the privilege of being able to come back to Ocala 3 years ago, where I'm raising my son. He's almost 14 years old. And I have the absolute privilege of now being the CEO of a film company right here in Ocala, and we make films that expose corruption in the pharmaceutical industry. Thank you.
Move on to Mr. Jones.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Curtis Jones. I'm running for City Council District 4. I'm in here tonight just to say that I was born here in Ocala back in '69, and I've seen a lot of growth. I've seen a lot of good, the bad, and the ugly. But one thing's been constant. I watched this city grow into a city that was once a dirt road. Me, I come here with qualifications of just being someone who serves. I have an outreach here in Ocala called the Streets of Talking Outreach. We feed, clothe, get hygiene products, everything you can to help people get back on their feet. People with corona, we do all that. So my experience is I have that, like I said, outreach ministry. Me, I've always served people who are on alcohol, drugs, no matter what the issue is. And I realize there's a business part of this, so I'm also in the process of learning a lot of things. So trust me, I'm going to be a very good councilman because all I'm doing is studying y'all. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Alex.
I'll knock this thing over. Good evening, everybody. So my name's Alex Everett. I was born and raised here. I went to these schools. I've taught in these schools. I graduated with my associate's degree from CF. The only time that I've ever really spent outside of Ocala was pursuing my bachelor's degree at Florida State University. I know for many of you, I may as well see myself out the door. I get that, it's fine. But nonetheless, I do love our community. There's a reason why I'm back here. When I was in my senior year, my mother passed away. So when I came back, things were really, really different to me. My home wasn't the same anymore, so I had to find a new meaning to home. And a lot of what that looked like was doing things to serve the community and get out in the community, especially in the arts scene. This is a very familiar space to me. So I might be a historian by nature, but I also have a great love for the arts, especially performing arts. I've been an actor a number of times in play productions locally, and nowadays I just view myself as a part-time historian who builds fences for a living. I'm a perfect blend of blue collar and white collar. I'm not scared to get my hands dirty. I'm ready to fight for you, the people of the city of Ocala. Make sure that your first responders are the best responders, and make sure that we have everything we need to succeed and continue good growth. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Ms. Schreier, you're up.
Thank you so much to the Gazette and to Neighborhood Storage for sponsoring this tonight. I'm going to do everything my mother told me not to do and talk about myself at the end of tonight. But for now, I want to open by asking you this question. What kind of qualities are important to you in your next city council person? I've lived here for 18 years. I have served this city with a passion for the past 6. I was invited by John Zobler to serve on the Midtown Master Plan Steering Committee. From there, I was asked to be on the Historic Ocala Preservation Board. Then Ocala Main Street asked me to join their board as well, and we promote downtown development and businesses. And I also sit on the East Ocala Community Redevelopment Advisory Board. And somewhere in between there, I was on the board of a small Christian school here in town as well. This experience that I have had serving your city for the past several years and the heart and passion that I have for Ocala is what I believe makes me the best qualified person to serve as your next council person. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kristen. All right, we'll start with Barbara with your questions. Recently, it's been debated about whether or not city personnel issues should be discussed at public meetings with the idea that this would allow for greater governmental transparency. Do you think this should become the norm? Could you expound on some of the risks associated with council interfering with city managers' management and handling of personnel issues?
Thank you. Thank you, Sadie. I bring probably over 25 years' experience as a human resource executive, so I understand the protocols and the potential for creating a culture within a city or within the environment that fosters that cooperation and collaboration among employees. Also with the idea that progressive discipline obviously is the role to play. What has happened and transpired is the community has been divided over this issue of the termination of the fire chief, which has been determined through the city audit was within the purview of the city manager in her capacity as city manager. Knowing her background in HR as well, which parallels mine or is like mine, I know that decisions of that magnitude are never made without extraordinarily compelling reasons. To have that dialogue, probably perhaps first one-on-one with each city council member would have been the preferred route to take rather than expose all of those differences and that intense division within the public forum.
Thank you. Kevin, you stated that you would like to expand Ocala's fiber network into more residential areas. How will you do this? How do we keep affording the upgrades to our fiber network in order to stay competitive with other carriers?
Thank you, Sadie. So fiber network is just another analogy for a way to receive internet service. It is, instead of through our traditional copper lines, it is a glass wire that transmits data a lot faster, is the easiest way I can explain it. We must afford our residents affordable and reliable internet access if we want to be competitive in the national and global market. As more jobs shifted online and through remote work through the 2021 pandemic, this critical infrastructure rivals not only electricity, but our roads. It is another way to do commerce. E-commerce is a big growing industry. How many of you bought something through Amazon or an online retailer for pickup, scheduled your groceries in the last 2 months? I'm sure it's all of you. So we must afford it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lori, COVID-19 cases are rising dramatically in Marion County, with 27% of hospitalizations attributed to COVID-19. This obviously causes a major strain on our healthcare system. Are there any circumstances under which you would support a citywide mandate for public safety, i.e. masks and social distancing?
Thank you, Sadie. This is obviously the biggest topic on our planet right now, and something that I've had the privilege to discuss with lots of folks around the community as a part of the General Flynn Reopen America tour. I'm honored to be a part of that tour. And one of the things that we talk about is that the foundation of America is freedom. Health freedom should be no exception. So we need to remember the foundation of our Constitution and the fact that We have data that counters what a lot of the information is that's come out. So that means that you have confusion in some cases amongst the public, and people have to have the right to choose. Thank you.
Thank you. Curtis, you've spoken about your passion for helping the homeless population. How will you use your position on City Council to impact mental health and curb homelessness, and in what ways?
First of all, I'd like to say good evening again, y'all. But first of all, the homeless situation is something that's near my heart. Back in the late 90s, I found myself homeless for a little while, so that is something that I know if you're not diagnosed properly when it comes to mental illness, people have problems. They run into most of the time drugs, the opioid uses, and a lot of times after that, they run into their homelessness. So my job is to try to find a way to continue giving all those people help, especially ones who are affected by the corona. A lot of people, I keep hearing there's a lot of homeless people coming to Ocala, but they're actually, they're from Ocala. A lot of people have lost their businesses at home. So I'm the one that's out there constantly working with the people that everyone said they can't do it again. So my biggest thing is to make sure that we can get the finances. I got volunteers, Interfaith has place, they have plans to help with the homeless situation and bedding. So all I'm asking is just to give an opportunity to work the plan, at least put some in motion, because at this point now, there's nothing being done for the homeless except for the outreach groups. Thank you.
Thank you. Alex, you are a small business owner here in Ocala. You stated that, quote, you know the challenges small businesses face, and small businesses and their employees are the backbone of this nation, and we have to protect that at all costs. What do you think Ocala's small business owners need most?
Reliable employees. And that's what it comes down to. And look, a lot of people know by now that retention is important, and they know that they see it in front of them. They can't just replace the best people that they have. Their talent pool is dwindling by the day. It's a common topic of conversation amongst not just small business owners, but anybody who understands all this going on in our economy. If you haven't been to a place like a Subway or a Burger King that has reduced hours, I don't know where it is you're doing your shopping at. I don't know where it is you're buying your fast food at, because I have certainly encountered it left and right. That's not just because of, poor management per se. Now, there's a lot to be said for paying your people well enough, treating them well enough. But in the end of the day, one of the biggest problems that we have is reliable help. And, it's hard for a city and a municipal government to really particularly do anything about that. But one thing that we need to keep in mind is we are an employer too. We're a very, very large employer in terms of the county. So the way that we treat our human resource is still the way that everybody here that you're interested in tonight, those are the things that you see. We only dictate kind of policy and certain things, boots on the ground, work 40 hours a week to provide services for you. It's important that we take care of our people. Human resources is the most valuable resource. Let's treat them like it. Thank you.
Thank you. Kristen, you've said that your focus as a city council member will be, quote, on the collaboration of community, business, and government to keep the city headed in the right direction. What does the right direction for Ocala look like to you?
Sure. So the right direction, so we know growth is going to happen, right? The right direction to me would be knowing that growth is happening around us, but preserving the core here in town. We have a great hometown feel. Ocala is a destination location, and you don't have to leave Ocala anymore to have 17 bars or 72 stores in our area. And so for me, the same thing would go with affordable housing. That is not so much a city paid for issue, but it would be collaboration of community like they do in Citrus County with Habitat for Humanity. They have a 15-year, 500-home project that they have just started. And so there's a ton of people that we can bring to the table to make this town awesome. I already love this town. I think it's awesome. That's why I'm standing up here today. But yeah, it's preserving our core, Sadie.
Thank you. All right, Barbara, we're back to you. You stated that public safety is one of the city's greatest challenges. You've said these encompass addressing gun violence, moving away from stopgap measures to address homelessness, the ongoing opioid crisis, etc. What do you believe is government's role in addressing these social issues? Should government try to address them through partnerships with outside agencies, or should they take more of a leadership role on them?
What we have done in Ocala, and especially through the Ocala Police Department, has been this idea of addressing specifically the gun violence issue and the opioid crisis issue. What has happened is the Public Policy Institute has interceded, for example, in promoting 2 studies, the latest one, the last one released on homelessness, the one that we're working on now on informing our youth and their parents so that we can intervene earlier prior to middle school years so that we can stop this propensity toward violence in our community. And interestingly enough, both the Sheriff's Department and OPD have jointly contributed to funding that latest study. So there is where your collaboration comes in. The Chief of Police has spoken throughout this community about what his needs are and where we can collaborate with the Chief of Police in moving his initiatives forward to reduce the numbers of folks impacted by the opioid crisis and, of course, reduce the propensity for the gun violence that's occurring. So the collaboration is already existing and should continue.
Thank you. Kevin, the City of Ocala's recycling program has had some difficulty in years past, high bids from waste collectors, low participation, etc. You are interested in kickstarting environmentally friendly initiatives, particularly composting. How do you plan to get Ocala citizens to compost when it's been difficult to get full participation for recycling, even when bins are provided?
Thank you. I think we can all do our own part to help offload the waste that we all create from our day-to-day lives. It was a summer project for my family and I. My son Harrison, my wife Veronica, we created our own composting bin in the backyard and just were throwing away coffee grounds, the fruit snacks that didn't get devoured during the day, and putting that good organic matter right back into our own soil. We started a little garden in our backyard. We could leverage this trash that would normally just go to our landfill or shipped off to another landfill, as ours is nearing capacity, for the greater good of our community. We could also look at other environmental initiatives like switching to compostable shopping bags as a community, or reducing the amount of plastic bags that we give out at local businesses. So that's another way we could help offload the environmental impact that we make.
Thank you. Lori, since 2017, the city has used more than 50% of the revenue received from the penny sales tax to fund public safety improvements, such as new emergency response vehicles, equipment upgrades for public safety personnel, and new facilities for public safety departments. Police Chief Balkin has indicated in conversations with Gazette reporters that council has met the department's funding requests to date. You've stated in other forums that the police department is underfunded. Please specify in which areas is the department currently underfunded, and how would you fund the department at a higher level?
Thank you, Sadie. I think part of the challenge is that the police department doesn't get fully funded with the, fully staffed. It does get a 95% staffing. And I think we're living in a time where defunding police is creating a lot of problems for communities. I was just recently in Austin, Texas, and they defunded the police by $110 million, and homicides have gone through the roof. So if we create a tax that the public votes on, that tax needs to go to what it was earmarked for, what the public voted to receive it, for it to be allocated to. And if that particular cause is funded, I'm sure there are things, if we asked Chief Balkin, that he needed that he could use the rest of that tax for. So I don't think it's right to switch what the people spoke about, what they voted and what they've indicated they want the monies to be used for, and then apply it to something else just because a box has been checked.
Thank you. Curtis, you've spoken of wanting greater transparency regarding government spending and providing the citizens with more information about the spending. Other than providing budgetary information at public records, what other mechanism do you think would help lend greater transparency?
First of all, it's no secret what I said last time. One of the things that promotes transparency is something that's going on right now with the candidates. We have what they call real time. You put in things at real time right when it's happening. And that way you can see what money's has been taken in, what money's is going out, how much money's left over. Then you can have a little better understanding what money's left over, what we can allocate to here and all. But as it is now, there's not a lot of that going on. So as the city councilman, there's some things I plan on really looking into that can be streamlined. But one of the things, like I said, if it's going to be transparency for the candidates, that's something that should be done all the time for the employees too. So it may not be popular, but if we want to see something change, we got to make sure the people who are not supposed to be doing what they're doing, we can expose them. So thank y'all very much.
Thank you. Alex, as Ocala continues to expand, the need for reliable public transportation grows. You've remarked that you would like to see more accessible public transportation in Ocala, especially to Baseline Road. How do you plan to expand SunTran and continue making it affordable and efficient?
Where's my soapbox? You'll got more in a minute. So what it comes down to for me is I do know firsthand what it feels like not to have that system serve you. I think I mentioned before, I did spend my entire life here. I've been homeless in this place before, y'all. I've had real challenges getting to work and school and rode a bike many, many miles. And if I'd have just conveniently been located like off 64th Avenue back then I could have got on a bus and got to CF. Instead, I used to ride a bike and be terribly sweaty. But regardless, that's just kind of the background story as to why this has my attention. Now, can I necessarily say that it's going to be super affordable to make the sort of revisions that we need to in terms of what it costs us now? Maybe not. Is it going to be a massive strain on us? No. We already have several routes. To add one or two more wouldn't be that big a deal. But in the end of the day, existing routes, existing stops, existing uncovered stops, they don't really serve the sort of populations that they should all the time. Now, some people, yeah, but in places like Lower 441, off of Baseline and the areas in between, there are a lot of people in real bad shape economically, and they don't have a way to break the cycle. Now, I'm not saying make it free for everybody, but make it accessible for everybody. That's an important thing. When I lived in Tallahassee, I was a student, so I could ride buses free. It was a complete game changer for me.
Thank
That's
you,
what I
Alex.
want for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Kristen, in your recent answer to the Ocala Gazette Q&A, you stated, quote, "I intend to pull together all the information concerning the lawsuits the city is facing, as well as the untimely firing of the leader of a department. Someone must be accountable for the decisions that are made. City council is where that accountability begins and ends," end quote. Chief Alexander was the third fire chief in a row to be fired or forced to resign in the past decade. As you might imagine, some are concerned that candidates are giving this particular personnel decision extra attention because powerful unions are associated with it. What criteria and what method would you propose council have for reviewing and possibly interceding in the city manager's personnel decisions?
Sure. So I just do want to say that I have not been endorsed by any unions. In fact, our candidate, Lori Gregory, has the police endorsement. So I have no ulterior motives in stating that. It is concerning that 3 chiefs have been let go in a row. It's not so much of a micromanagement issue, but it's what's happening here. I was at a roundtable discussion this morning with a group of people who are old-time Ocala, who have served in many leadership positions, and they all think there's more to the story. It's hard to believe there's not, but if we have a situation that's caused such a divisive rift in our town, I think it's time to heal the wound. And so that's when I quote that, that's what I mean by that.
All right, thank you. We now have a bonus question. This goes to all of you, and you will have 1 minute to answer it. If you need me to repeat it, totally okay. In the fall of 2020, the Ocala City Council unanimously voted to approve the Cultural Arts Implementation Plan as another step in its commitment to the 10-year Community Cultural Arts Master Plan. At what point do you think the city should stop using taxpayer money to fund cultural arts projects and begin encouraging the private sector and nonprofits to be the driving force for arts and culture in Ocala? Barbara.
Thank you. I've had the privilege of working with the cultural arts community for many, many years, and they have come a long way. And they've come a long way because of the partnerships and the synergy and the cooperation and collaboration that has existed between the city of Ocala and the cultural arts community. I serve as treasurer of Magnolia Art Exchange. Magnolia Art Exchange is housed at the old train depot. Obviously, that is a city-owned building, as is Brick City Center for the Arts, as is this facility where we stand tonight. The cultural arts community, through the Nonprofit Business Council, has advanced in its sustainability across the board. So as that sustainability increases, I can well see that implementation of the cultural arts plan, the 10-year plan, as that evolves, will slowly start shifting those parameters as those cultural arts organizations mature and become more self-sustaining. So that would be the ideal, that yes, the city still has a role in advancing the cultural arts because of the economic impact of bringing the arts to this community. It's a benefit to the city. So partnerships should continue for a while.
Thank you. Kevin.
Thank you for the question. I don't believe we should ever stop funding cultural arts for the citizens of our city. It's a part of what Ocala is, right? I was attracted to the city, like many of our current residents, brought here with what it has to offer. That's parks and recreation, that's the arts. All of these things culminate in the culture. Could we lessen their budget? Sure. We could reevaluate, make some priority calls, but I don't think we should ever stop completely funding and just say, private sector, you have it. I believe it's necessary. I was a big proponent of marching band in high school where I grew up. That was my day in, day out when I was growing up. It gave me an outlet for creativity, for responsibility. It started my leadership patterns because I was part of a drumline. I became drumline captain, right?
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Lori.
Thank you, Sadie. Well, somebody once said that a great city is defined by whether or not they have a symphony and a French restaurant. We have both of those, which is great. We also have the Appleton, which I think is a tremendous museum. I also know that without private money, the Riley would not have been redone. We wouldn't have had the opportunity to have the Riley. I know that Frank Hennessy stepped up and participated in helping to fund that renovation. So I think we have support for the arts. It's important to have city dollars supporting that as well. And just really quickly, since my name was brought up, one of the proudest days of my life was when I was endorsed by the Fraternal Order of the Police. And we could take that half a cent and give it back to the pension that was taken away from them. Thank you.
Thank you. Curtis.
Well, as I listened to the different answers about the art, I came up, I love drawing. I used to do it all the time. My grandkids, everyone, they love to draw. And there's a lot of things that benefit from the arts, and I've never been against it. But on the second hand, there's a lot of things that I feel that can be streamlined a little more. I love it. We can have much art as possible, but we still have to remember to help the artists who are doing it. So they have to find a way to get some monies circulating for them. But as for talking about the homeless, I think that some of that stuff, I have nonprofits, and I've done stuff with kids. I want to start a program in the neighborhoods with arts, teaching the kids about artistry. I've had invited people in. So I know the importance of it because, you know, I say it soothes the savage beast. Every time I felt out of control, I would draw or write. So in the end of the day, I think that the arts should stay around, but I do think there should be just a little bit more streamlining. There's some things that I think we can do without, and I'll just throw it out. We got so many of these little colored horses around here. I'm just throw that out. Maybe a few of those can be taken away. You know.
Thank you, Curtis. Alex.
I like that. So I served OMAC, the Municipal Arts Commission, for a few years, and you know, I kind of have a better understanding of our local arts scene to a degree, because you don't know nothing about trying to argue about private versus public funding of the arts, and so you're actually like begging artists to come apply for grant funds that like you go for a meeting and no applicants have even come in, and then you just adjourn your meeting and leave. So that's richly ironic for me. And then I'd like to point out that, you know, as a historian, like I'm big on the humanities, right, including lots and lots of arts, and some of the best art in history is not something that was paid for by a public entity, just saying. It's just a fact. Look it up, right? Most of us in this room probably know that. There needs to be a point. It needs to be a point in which you're constantly reevaluating how much money the public is spending on arts, because it is still important. It's important to our society that we have, you know, theater programs, musical programs. It's not just, when you think of art, sometimes people get stuck in thinking of like visual arts, but there are a lot of ways that art is omnipresent in our society and in our city. It is important that we evaluate it year to year. There needs to be a point that it comes, because again, art is entertainment. Entertainment is a business. If it can't sell itself, how long are we going to just fund it while no one's showing up to it? Thank you.
Thank you. Kristen.
Hey, I want to make sure you know I meant that as a compliment, okay? I'm happy for you. I truly am. So everybody had really great answers about the arts and moving funding away into the private sector, and I think that I'm going to be an outlier here and say that maybe we should have that conversation sooner than we think. CEP, those jobs used to be county and city jobs, and when it was turned over to them, CEP is thriving. They are doing what they do best. And, you know, I'm not well-versed in the arts. I love art, love coming to places down here. But I think that there are people within that sector that can potentially do it better than the way we are doing it. So I think we should have that conversation sooner than later.
Thank you. All right, we're going to start our closing statements. You guys will have 2 minutes. Barbara, you're up.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a wonderful opportunity tonight, and I thank everyone again. As our city continues to grow, it's increasingly clear that we need strong, focused leadership to address the persistent challenges and opportunities that we face, whether it's public safety, fire rescue, and our police department, whether it's homelessness, whether it's affordable housing, whether it's environmental health, whether it's access to broadband, whether it's access to health care, all of those issues, diversity in our economy, jobs, etc. Those challenges and opportunities must be addressed. Public service, for me, has been the hallmark of my career. I care very deeply about the direction that this community takes, and I will bring my diverse and unique background, my education experiences, to bring that inclusive vision, to bring those needed connections, collaborations, and cooperation to build an even better Ocala community for the health, safety, and well-being of all. It will be my honor to serve as your City Council member for District 4, and I humbly ask for your vote on September 21st. I thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Kevin.
Thank you, everyone, for coming here tonight. I appreciate your attendance. I was here on Monday, and this is a much better turnout. I am a family man. I am oriented towards family values. I'm hardworking. I started my career as an IT help desk technician. I've worked my way up to manage software development teams. I am committed and driven in everything that I do. When we made our decision to move here to Ocala to raise our family, I knew that I couldn't just take that same approach that I was doing where I used to live. I couldn't just be another citizen, show up to some events and say, that was fun. I needed to give back to the community in better ways, because this is where I'm raising my 4-year-old son and my 1-year-old daughter. I want them to have the best opportunities. And if you elect me as your councilman, I will treat you as my family, because I want your best interest. I have no ulterior motives. There is nothing behind me. I'm just a hardworking, honest man trying to do best for my family and my community. Thank you.
Lori.
Thank you, Sadie, and thank you again for having us. It would be such a privilege to serve as your councilwoman for District 4, and I'll tell you why. I have the unique experience of multiple generations. I'm raising the fifth generation here. I have blood in this soil, and I have such pride and love in my heart for Ocala. But when I was younger, there wasn't a lot of opportunity for me here. I had to go elsewhere in order to get the qualifications and get the business experience that I needed to be able to be of value and have something to give back. I now have something to give back. And I would like to be your councilwoman so that I can help take Ocala, which is at a crossroads right now. We can work together to take Ocala to its next step where we have growth, but we do it smartly and with fiscal responsibility. We need to stop the brain drain we have of our best and brightest, and we need to grow Ocala responsibly so that we have something to offer the sons and daughters of Ocala for opportunity. I want to see my child and my grandchildren someday in a thriving Ocala that I can be proud of. So please think about that when you vote on September 21st, and please consider me as your councilwoman. It would be my greatest honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Curtis?
One of my final statements, ever since I was nominated for a candidate, I've spent my time going around District 4 to all the businesses and coming in personally and asking them, is it something that you need, anything, issues you have, any ideas? Because I told them we need to get back to the point of including the people in the process. He constantly asked me, am I a Republican or Democrat? I said, I'm a person. I'm a person before a party. You're a person. So I want you to get back to thinking again without the party mentality and saying, you know, what is the right thing to do? Bring the compassion back, bring the love. There are people out here that are expecting you to do this right here. I know it's business going on, but if you can build better people, then you can build better businesses. So that's my job, to make sure that I try to serve not just the underserved, but the people who deserve to be helped, and that's everybody. So Ocala is a beautiful place. I've watched it. I've watched, like I said, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I hope to continue to be part of the good of the city as you make me a city councilman, District 4, Curtis Jones.
Thank you. Alex?
Again, thanks everybody for being here. Thanks to our hosts and our organizers for doing this. Y'all didn't have to go out of your way to do this. It's probably a great expense to yourself, and we appreciate everybody else for being here too. I want to thank y'all for all showing up, because I would hate if one of us wasn't here. We had a lot of fun tonight. So again, I was born and raised here. I've never left Ocala for very long, and when I did, I came straight back. I don't intend to ever really leave here again. If I do, it's going to be in a bag, y'all. This is where I'm going to be. This is where I'm raising my son. He's 2.5. I love waking up every day and knowing that I'm in a place where I know what to expect. That is because we have had some good, consistent growth. We're not slow Cala anymore. We're more like grow Cala. I mean, I'd almost like to stop and ask to see a show of hands at how many people think we need another 20-pump gas station, right? Isn't that something we all get excited about? More of those. Closing statement, September 21st, a lot of us are showing up. I think we're going to have a really good turnout this year because of everything that we have going on. I'm asking for your vote. I think many of you here know what I'm about, and they know that I plan to come with dedication and hard work to the table every single day. When I was 17, I had to drop out of high school, and I was made homeless because of my socioeconomic circumstances. I took no refusals for an answer. I overcame every single challenge laid in front of me, and that's what I want the people of this city to continue to do. That's what I want the staff of this city to continue to do. Overcome adversity every day so that we can live beautiful lives. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Kristen.
Well, thank you again, everybody, for coming out. And I want to just commend all of the candidates up here. How awesome is it that 6 of us want to be your next city council person? This is democracy right here. So I moved to Florida when I was 15 years old. I worked for a land developer when I was in high school, and it was there that I kind of learned what the marriage between business and politics was. From there, I went on to college at the University of Central Florida, and then in 2003, I found my way to Ocala, where we built a house, had 3 children, and that's where our story begins. It begins here in Ocala. And so from there, we moved down to Tuscaloosa Park, and I became an immediate stakeholder in downtown redevelopment. I have served this city for the past several years. I love our city. I have 3 children. They all go to public schools with your kids. I am you. The same questions that you have, I also have. So when I run on the platform of transparency within our city council, the questions you're asking, I am as well, and we will get those answers together. Public safety, it's a non-negotiable for me. This is first and foremost. You've heard some of our candidates talk about this tonight. This should be always funded in the way that they need that funding. Policy, we have some things to streamline. I'm in real estate. I have a lot of customers that put permits before our growth management department, and there's some things that we can be doing better. They do a good job, but we can always be doing things better. And then lastly, promoting economic growth. How great is it that our CEP has been a facilitator in all of these jobs that they've brought to our town that have kept us going throughout COVID? And so in the service that I have done for the city over the past several years, I feel that this has prepared me for this moment. And I would love your vote. I would love to earn your vote on the 21st of September. Go follow us at ocalawithkristen.com, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Kristen. All right. That concludes our forum for District 4. Thank you guys so much for coming tonight. We appreciate it. You can take your seats, and we will start our mayoral candidate forum shortly. For you.